dear colleague, Jessenia Mercedes, who is in charge of all of our programs, who works with me and in charge of all of our programs that don't happen in the RoboFund studio. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Hi, everyone. I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. I am going to begin, as I always do. For those of you who may not know, RoboFun is a company that helps kids do creative things with technology. So our kids make and program little robots. They learn how to code video games. They learn how to make stop motion animations, and they work in Minecraft to learn more about real world circuitry in the redstone mode of Minecraft. And right now, we have our classes, our second semester of the fall starting this coming Monday. So we would love to have your child enroll. We also, the following week on the November 11th is Veterans Day. We have a day where schools are not open, and we would love to have your child come then. So if you're interested, go to robofund.org and sign up for the mailing list, because you get all of this information. And then you can always learn about it through the website at robofund.org. And now I'm going to dive into, it is such a pleasure to have you here, Jessie.
I'm so happy I'm here. I'm like, finally, I'm here. It's been a while. When am I going to get my heart to heart?
That's nice to know. So I do try to interview everyone in my office, and some people are like, no, I don't want this. So I'm thrilled that you want this. So
yeah, I'm excited.
A little bit of background to my relationship with Jessie. Jessie's been with me almost 4 years. And what I love about working with Jessie is she tells me how it is. No, like, well, Laura's the boss, I shouldn't. No, I get the story, and I want the story, and not everyone has the confidence or the presence to just say it. So
yeah, my mom and my friends definitely would agree to that. I tell it how it is.
It's a very good quality. So Jessie, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I am first generation Dominican. My parents they were born in Dominican Republic, and then they came here. And it's just me and my sister. And we grew up in Jersey City, New Jersey. And our whole lives, I would say, with the exception of like second grade to like fifth grade, we were in Catholic school for the majority of our upbringing. Like preschool, I remember we went to St. Bridget's. Then I went to Holy Rosary Resurrection School, and then high school I went to St. Anthony's. My sister also went to St. Anthony's. We actually had when she was a senior, I was a freshman, and when I came in, I was like, "Oh, that's a little." My sister's name is Jennifer, and they were like, "Oh, that's a little Jenny right there," and I'm like, "Don't call me little Jenny. I am my own person." But yeah, so I went to St. Anthony's, and when I was applying for colleges, I wasn't particularly looking for a Catholic school to go to. Like I applied to a lot of different schools. I really wanted to go to like Penn State, and I got accepted. But I kind of fell in love with the school, College of Mount St. Vincent, because they gave me more funding, the most funding than all of the schools I applied. And coming from a mom and a father that really work hard, but like we didn't come from money, I couldn't like I didn't think of going to like a school where like there was no funding, and then my parents had to like pay so much. So my decision was to go to College of Mount St. Vincent. It had more funding. It was a little closer, but still like far enough where like I could dorm. So that was kind of like my happy medium, because I was like, I'm not staying home. I gotta go. Like I gotta spread my wings and fly.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like super happy at first, because I was kind of like, oh, I kind of wanted to go to Penn State. But when I went there and I started meeting like new people, and I started like going into like different clubs and stuff, like I really, really was happy with my decision, and I still am to this day. I have a lot of friends that I'm still really good friends with, and it was the best decision I made in my life, going to that school. Because there's also like a stigma with like, oh, it's Penn State, it's like this known school, and like no one knows the school, College of Mount St. Vincent. But I don't regret going to College of Mount St. Vincent. I'm really, really happy I went.
And you initially started studying biology and then changed.
Yes.
You wanted to be a doctor.
Yes, yes. I wanted to be a doctor. I was actually telling you this earlier. I wanted to be a doctor, and but I really struggled. I never sugarcoat this. I struggled with biology in college. Like I did not do good. Like I wasn't like, I was really focused. Like I would read, I would do my homework. Like I just was like, what's going on? Like why am I like not getting it? But my senior year of high school, I was in a psychology class. That was the first time I ever took psychology, and I was just like really interested in it, and I was just like, wow, like this is like so cool, and like just like the different topics. That was like the first time I was writing like these like research papers, and I did pretty good at them, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, but by then it was like my senior year. I already like applied to be the biology like major, so I didn't switch it. But then when I got to college and I did biology, and I realized like I'm kind of struggling a little bit. My options were, because I was gonna fail the class. I already knew I was failing biology. It was either like take it again or like drop the class right now and like switch your majors. And my sister was also in college at the time, and she was a psychology major. So I was like, I hope she doesn't think like I'm copying her. But but I ended up like switching to psychology. I also like before, this is one thing that I did because I didn't know if I wanted to do psychology or sociology. I went to both chairs of the departments, and I literally just like kind of like was like, "Hi, I want to talk to you guys. Like I'm thinking of switching." And I ended up falling in love with both of them, but I did psychology with a minor in sociology. And
That's cool.
another amazing decision. I love psychology. Like it just made me think. It made me grow as a person. Still to this day, I like discover new things. So
That's great.
yes.
That's great. So you graduated. What year did you graduate?
2016. 2016.
Oh, you're such a
Yes.
youngster. I graduated in
Ah,
1983,
1980.
but
I
you
wasn't
weren't
even
even
born
born
yet.
at that point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you graduated in 2016 and you're like, I got to support myself. I don't know if I want to go back home, if I can avoid it. So what'd you do? Or that's my
Yes.
guess, knowing you.
Yes, I stayed home a little bit, but I my friend, actually my best friend, she went to, we didn't go to the same school, but we were best friends from high school. She gave me a resource that she applied to, and it was a company called Blue Engine, and it was basically similar to like how RoboFund works, but Blue Engine was kind of like team teaching within like public schools in the DOE. So I applied, and it's kind of like a 2-year program with the option of going into like getting your master's into teaching. So I did, it's either you taught English or math, and I was like shooting for English. I was like, I want English. And of course, they gave me math. But I actually realized I was like, I'm pretty good at math. But that's what I did. I did that for 2 years. The first year, I was placed in Bronx River High School. So I taught freshman algebra, and it was a team of teachers. So it was me, two other, like we called each other betas, so it was me and then two other betas, and then we taught with two full teachers, like two full-time co-teachers. And I it was scary at first. I was like, I'm 22, I'm teaching 14-year-olds at high school level. I'm like, I remember when I was in high school, I was like worried about like too much, so I was very nervous, but it was an amazing experience. Like I learned a lot about myself, and I remember telling people like what I did at that time, and they're like, "Oh, ugh, you teach high school? Like, oh, that's crazy." But I like fell in love with the kids. Like they were like at first it was like kind of like I don't know. It was just amazing. It was just amazing at first. Like, and a lot of it is getting to know a lot of them and like their background and like what's going on with them, and so they're dealing with a lot. That's what I didn't realize. Like, they have a lot of home stuff that like kind of blurs into like into schoolwork, and I realized that I kind of had to be like, I kind of put on my psychology hat at times. So like, listen, we're not getting the math done right now. What's going on? Like, we need to talk. So I think I learned like early that being a teacher is just not teaching. Like, it's kind of like being a mom, being a friend, being a sister.
Being a
So
therapist.
yeah, being a therapist, exactly, being like A through Z. So that's what I did for my first year. I wish I was placed they placed you at a different school the next year, and I was like, oh, I wish they placed me back there, but they didn't. I was placed at another school actually in the Bronx, like the Mont Haven section. It was, I actually don't remember the schools. I don't remember the school's number, but it was a finance and technology school. And I
Right.
taught again freshmen. I taught one sophomore class, and then I taught one eighth grade class. And that was amazing too. And it kind of helped me because like the first school kind of gave me like these little nicks and tools to teach the second year.
Mhm.
But I enjoyed it, but I was like, and something about me, I was like, I don't think I can do this for like 10 years. Like I was like, I don't know. I was like, I want something more. I want something else. I want something like
Right.
different. So a lot of my coworkers, they opted and went to school. Like it's a great program where like it paid for their whole graduate program, and like they got licensed, and sometimes they would stay at the school that they were working at. I still have friends that still like work at the first school that I worked at, but I knew that I wasn't going to be fully happy doing that. Um, so I ended my 2 years, and I was like, okay, so what am I gonna do? Like, I was trying to look for like psychology based jobs, like research jobs, and I didn't have much luck. I was applying a lot, and then I found RoboFun, and I was like, program manager. I was like, what is this? And then like I read through it, and I'm like, okay. I was like, I'm not a teacher. Like, it's not a teaching job, but it's like kind of like teaching background. And I loved like the whole like aspect of it being different, and the fact that like how you explain it, like we help kids get creative with robotics and coding. And one thing that stuck out to me is like I didn't have that when I grew up. Like I went to Catholic school, we were very religious, like we didn't like really like have like extracurricular activities. It was kind of like just like school, religion, church.
Mhm.
So I was like, I want to be a part of this. Like I want to bring different stuff to these schools. And I basically like I applied, I got responded right away. I did my like 3 interviews, and here I am. I'm here.
And we're
So
tough when we hire.
yes,
We've
yes. I was
learned.
very nervous. I was nervous when I did the interview with Kelly and Alex, but they were so nice. But they were like, they gave me the good questions, no like cookie cutter questions, but like I was like, I hope I'm doing good. And then when I kept getting like another follow up email interview, I was like, oh, I think they're, I was like, I didn't, I was like talking to my mom, I was like, I think they're going to hire me, but I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx myself. And when I got the letter and the interview, I was like the acceptance letter, I was so happy. I was like, oh, I love it.
So you initially started almost 4 years ago as what was your title then, and where are you now? Because I
Yeah,
think of my entire staff, you've made a lot of movements
I,
in a positive direction. But
yes, I think I moved really fast. Not really, really fast, but just a lot. So I came in as a program coordinator. And then after, I think a year, 6 months, a year, I went up to junior program manager. And then right before, like a couple months ago, and now I'm the senior program and partnership manager of Offsite. So I moved up like 3 titles. I still have the business cards from program coordinator and like junior, and I'm like, oh, I can't even use these. You're not even my title. But yeah, I moved up, and I was like shocked, but like I felt like I remember Alex telling me, and I was like, I can't believe this. And she's like, you are working hard. Like you're like that's the one thing I love about this about RoboFund, Vision Education, is that we always acknowledge when you're working hard, and we always reward you when you're working hard, and it never goes unnoticed. And that's one thing that I always like said from day one, like when you're doing good, like we let you know you're doing good, like always, like we make sure. So
that's a wonderful thing for me to hear, and it's a really important thing because running a company in education, for those of you not in this field, is quite difficult when
yeah,
we run our programs with the Department of Education, which might change its mind or decide not to pay us for 4 months, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a hard place to run a business. And I feel it's really important for me. I couldn't do this without amazing staff like Jessie. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and all of her colleagues, Cindy and Leo and Alex, our director of
We have a
operations.
great team. We have a great
Yes,
team, yeah.
yes.
And we
So
all have like different personalities and backgrounds. I think that's what makes it even better. Like we all come from
Yes.
different. Yeah.
It really is a little bit like the United Nations in our office, and
It is. It is.
I love that.
It is.
So, um, a few things just to tell our audience is that technically Jesse's the company name we use for Jesse's company is Vision Education and Media, and what we use for what I'm generally doing my heart to hearts is called RoboFund. And basically, can you want to talk a little bit about what? Okay, so I'm just going to tell everybody the same thing happens. I'm going to let Jessie tell what she does off site, and that means not in our studio. But the reason we have two different names is RoboFund tends to be a younger trending name. And also we've received a number of National Science Foundation grants, a MacArthur grant, and others. And I have always been concerned that RoboFund sounds like too much fun. And that when you're trying to write a grant for an academic institution, you need to sound academic. So
Academic.
so,
No.
so what happens in the part of the company called Vision Education and Media? Where is it happening and what's going on?
So it's happening all over New York City. We are in every borough. We're in Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, like everywhere, Staten Island. So we basically work with schools, some public, some private, and we set up robotic and coding programs there. And we target pretty much from K all the way to 8th grade. We've even had some high school programs, but it's more popular K through 8. And we do different type of programs we either do day programs or after school programs, but yeah, it's pretty much what is done on RoboFund at RoboFund on site, but this is like the way it's done in schools. So we set up equipment and we send trained and vaccinated mentors, and we just kind of set it up where we manage programs at different schools and we just make sure everything is in tip-top shape, and we even go in and do like observations and just make sure that everything is good. Yeah, so it's kind of like bringing the robotics and the RoboFund to the school, but we name it as Vision Education and Media just to have like that separate
Right.
change. Yeah. Right. And yeah, we have like we're a lot of schools. I
think it's over 100 at this moment, and it probably ballooned to about 150.
Yes.
So, my full-time employees like Jessie, a day in the life of Jessie. Tell us, like what it looks like.
Yes, it could be different or every day kind of. So I'm usually in the office, but it could be Zoom calls, standing meetings, in-person meetings, of course, 6 feet apart with mask on. And then we also do like observations. So sometimes I could be like in the Bronx at MS 343 observing a robotics class from 3 to 5, or be in Manhattan at a different school looking at a
so what are you observing? What are you looking for?
I'm looking at the mentor and just making sure that the class structure is done properly, kind of like just like a good class structure in which basically the kids are having fun, but it's also like an organized fun in a sort of way. So they have like an opening circle, they have like an agenda up there, and the mentor is confident and is able to teach the class, and just everything is like set up where like the kids have all of the equipment, and basically just making sure that everything is good. I'm looking for what I usually like to look for is the mentor is doing his opening circle, his icebreaker. I'm looking at the class rapport, like how close is he or she with these students, and just seeing how the kids are responding back to him or her, and just like how they're working on their projects. And I'm also looking at like how the kids receive and even interpret different things in coding, like in coding and game design when they're working on their video games and they want to work on a certain maze game, like them like working on it and also like sharing their ideas. But also like if troubleshooting happens, I want to also see like is the mentor being able to like help the kid, or can the kid kind of think his way through? It actually makes me think back when I first taught. We had this rule called 3 before me, and it was basically like, because in math, like the kids would literally just be like, "Miss, what's the answer?" And I'm like, three before me, and I would have that student ask either another teacher or another colleague, or I mean another another
Student.
classmate or
Right.
another student, yes, or look into like their notes. I was like, you have notes, you have student, like you have your other students, your other friends, like don't go straight to me, try to like figure it
Right.
out. So I
Right.
also look at that too to see like how the kids in robotics classes, like how they figure it out, because it's tough, like if you've never seen it before and you're like in robotics, like it's tough, but I'm basically
My
just
mentor
making
used to
sure that
call it, my mentor, Seymour Papper, used to call it hard fun. It's
oh, hard
like,
fun. Okay.
it's hard, but it's, you
That's what it
stick
is.
with
It's
it.
fun.
Right.
Yes, that's
Right.
exactly what it is. Yeah. And
Yeah.
just like that's basically what I'm seeing is like how is the class going? Like are the kids really enjoying themselves? Are they learning? Is the mentor feel supported? Because I'm not just there with for the kids. I'm there to make sure that the mentor supported and it's like, hey, is there anything you need? Like
Right.
so I actually really, really enjoy observing classes. I feel I like it gets me back in the classroom, but like kind of in the background and
Right.
yeah, I enjoy doing it. Yeah. So
I
that's
want to add that one thing somewhere along the line, when I run a company, I'm like 10,000 feet above, and I'm not in everything, which is both wonderful, but at times it's hard. But when I heard Jessie say that, she needed a day off to go to the graduation of her former kids from ninth grade, I was like, this is a
oh
woman who
yes.
really cares about kids. And this is somebody
Yes.
who, you know, I was thrilled that you wanted to do that. So
Oh my God, I totally forgot that. I remember now. I definitely did that. I said I have to like, and I didn't tell them. They didn't know. And it was me and my other coworker that did it together. And when we came in, they were like, Miss, and I was like, how could I be here when you first got here and not see you leave? Like, come on. And no, I had to be there. I had to be
that's
there.
great.
It was,
That's great.
yeah. Yes.
So in Jessie's current position, she has two direct reports. Is that correct? Am I?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, you are
Um,
correct. I have Leo and Cindy. They're
and
amazing.
it's very exciting for me as as the owner of the company to watch a woman of your age just be able to manage that, and to watch you ask for help and be so thoughtful about it. So
Yeah, that's one thing I learned like at RoboFund too, like it's okay to ask for help. I think people get scared and they think that like, oh, I'm not doing my job properly because I'm asking for help. No, no, no. I learned like even in teaching and now like you have to ask for help if you feel like you're not getting it or you just feel a little overwhelmed because we all get overwhelmed. Like
yep.
so and I tell that to Cindy and Leo too. I said, please, I'm here for you. Like don't feel like you are alone. Like I'm always here. And
Right.
Alex knows I always go to her, so
Right.
I
And
always
for me,
bother
it's the
her.
same way. We
Yeah,
have a joke in
even
my
you, I've
family.
asked you for help. Yeah, even you, I'm like, Laura, I need help with Face Lab. I don't know what's
No, but
going on.
I also ask you guys. So
Yeah.
we have a joke in my family, my son and I, who was a RoboFund mentor for a summer. And one of the RoboFund rules is that you have to try your best. So he's always joking with me and he's like, Mom, have you followed the RoboFund rule? Are you know?
That's a good
But,
one. I tried your best? That's a good
right.
one.
But every time, okay, so when you get to my age, even though this is a technology company, everything changes so quickly. I'll have something working perfectly and then the system changes, and I'll call you or I'll call Alex or my son, and everyone's like, well, Mom or Laura, did you Google that? And I'm like, oh, yes, did I Google it? So as we all learn,
Yes.
the most answers are in Google for.
Cool. Yes. I had my monitor wasn't working, like it wasn't connecting. And I was like, and I went to Alex. I was like, Alex, it's not working. She's like, did you Google it? She's like, I think I know what happened, but did you Google it? And I was like, I should Google it. And we figured out what
Right.
happened.
Good. Good. So it has been such a pleasure. Is there, okay, so here's a question that is, I'm throwing it at you, but I know Jessie can handle things being thrown at you. Has anything, okay, well, two things. We didn't even talk about how has it been with schools before, during, and now with COVID?
Oh
Because
my God.
I'm going to give everyone here a little bit of background, as running a small company, COVID hits, and I'm like, how do I keep my team? I have a service company, and fortunately, the federal government with PPP really helped. And I just said to my team, we're going to make it through. And everyone started teaching.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we couldn't hold on to all of our teachers, but my goal was to hold on to all of my managers. I did that, knock on wood. Mason, we miss you, but Mason was from New Zealand, and he was about to head to the next part of his adventure in life. But
Yeah.
so let's start in March 2020. My date
Yep.
in my mind is March 13th. The whole world changed. We had to close the office.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
what did you do that spring and summer, and maybe up to like a year ago?
That spring and summer, it was a lot of shutting down, like pausing programming. Basically, I got tons of email. I remember at one point like seeing every site coordinator that I work with and every CSD, and I'm like, I already know what they're saying. Like I already know what's going on. So that spring, like you said, we all taught that spring and that summer. We all taught on online classes, and we even introduced that new program, Bird Brain, which I
Yep.
love. I love Bird Brain. I love Bird Brain. It's one of my favorite
So
technology.
a shout
That's
out to
basically
Tom Lowers and Bird Brain Technologies. We use two different systems. One is the Hummingbird, a kit that you can get for less than $200 and have the kit at home, or
yep.
something else called the Finch. And we still do teaching with it at schools and through our programs if anyone's interested.
Yes,
So,
yes. I actually have. I actually trained one of our mentors last week, Mark. He took over a program in the Bronx, and
yep.
he actually just sent me his wiki, and he said the class went well. Kids are loving it. I was like, yeah. So I'm gonna go observe that school soon. But yes. Well, we basically, I think it was me and Cindy were the first people like teaching it, and we kind of like it had no curriculum, so like we were like, we gotta like basically start a curriculum with this, and me and Cindy would like just like work out different stuff. And we were all home. So like, I think that was kind of like, it was, of course, such a like crazy and like trying time, but that was the best time to start it because I was home. I had nothing else to do. And even Saturday nights, I was with Matt, my fiance, and we would do it together. Like, I'll be like, all right, we got to figure out how to do this like rover car and like put in these wires in. And that was basically spring and summer, basically figuring out Bird Brain and like teaching it online. And I actually really enjoyed teaching online. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like also like talking to the kids and just kind of getting because we were stuck home. There was literally nothing. Either you go to the grocery store or you stay home. That's literally the only option. So I
Right.
think talking to them and talking to the kids and just like getting like that time, like just like it was kind of like it's kind of like an escape in a way. Like we were all in bird brain and robotics and just kind of like
Right.
talking about other stuff. And yeah, so that was
When,
basically.
when I would hop in and watch some classes, what I found was that the boredom of the kids at home made it so that when they came to our online classes, they were there. They wanted to
Yes.
learn and be focused,
Yes.
and they wanted to talk to people outside their family members, like all of us.
Yes.
So it was the
Yes.
sort of positive side of online teaching. Also, with our classes, we only have 5 kids tops online, so everyone got a lot of support and individual attention. So
Yes. Yeah, I second that. I never had an issue with getting a kid to stay online because there'll be times where I'm like, all right, guys, class is over, and they're still like working on it, and I'm like, all right, we got time. Don't worry, we got time tomorrow. And they're like, okay, Miss Chelsea. But no, it was like, it was the little silver lining in the
yes,
big gray cloud that is still kind
right,
of over us.
right.
So yeah, that's basically what we did during the pandemic, and then now we're all back in the office. We're all like fully like vaccinated and safe, and it's kind of going back to normal, but still with like restrictions where like our classes we make sure that they're only 12 students max, and the schools all require like our mentors to be like vaccinated, but we already required that, which I think is a great step in the direction of just making sure that they're safe, and of course keeping on masks, making sure that they still wear masks. And basically that's it. It's kind of like rolling out still in schools.
So we went
like knock
through
on.
about a year there where we have a lot of contracts with the New York City Department of Education.
Yes.
And they were very, very wonderful at honoring those contracts. And we taught online
Yes.
as
Yes.
well.
Yes. Yes. We
For
did. We did.
right. So
Yeah, right before this year, you're right. I did skip through that one because
that's
I'm
okay.
like, this is the problem. This is what happens because of what happened. I don't remember any dates. I just remember the start, the March 13th, 20, and then now. That's all I remember. But yeah,
Okay.
so right before we came into the like our last year, we did do a lot of online classes with different schools, and they worked out pretty great for the most part because all the kids were home, and we had some of like us managers were teaching them, as well as some of our teachers that we've had for a while. They've jumped in as well and taught some classes, and for the most part we didn't get all of our schools back, but we got a good amount. And I think they always showed appreciation for like, thank you for like even moving this online and like still offering like coding and like
Yep.
robotics and animation. And we kind of just did what we could with what we had because we
Right.
couldn't do certain
Right.
techs. But
Which is
I
what
think it was
happens when you're creative. You have fewer resources, you
yes,
figure out how to make it work, which we all
yes,
did. And, now we're coming back to a sort of normal, thank goodness. And here's my
sort of.
last question for you, Jesse, unless you have other observations or things you want to add. Um, what are some of the things that really helped you through the pandemic? Like I'm on my 240th day of learning Spanish through Duolingo. I have to practice with you, actually. Uh,
Yes, we'll talk about that.
and that's been really, really fun. But is there anything that comes to mind that you either took up during the pandemic or that became a more important part of your life?
um I started cooking more. And it sounds so silly, but I didn't realize how much I didn't cook. Like
Mhm.
before the pandemic, like I didn't like, it was a lot of like takeout and like food, like buying lunch, but I like ended up buying like an air fryer, and like I just tried different recipes. Like I would literally look up different recipes and just try different things, and it just really like calmed me down. And then also like I listened to my podcast, so I would have like my podcast on and I'm cooking, and that really like kept me sane.
That's
And
good.
then good food at the end. Good food at the
Yeah,
end. That was always great.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That gives me an idea. It might be fun to do one of my blogs of all of our favorite recipes. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. I anything food related, I'm there. I love
Okay,
food.
great.
So yes.
Well, Jesse, thank you so much. It's been like just delightful talking to you. And
It was so fun.
what?
I said it was so fun. It was such a pleasure being here. Like I appreciate you having me here. And thank you, Isabel. I see your comments. You're amazing. I'm so happy
Yes,
you're there watching.
yes. Thank you, Isabel. And
Yeah.
Jesse, you totally passed the test. We're going to sign you up for another one of these in a couple months. You're a
Yeah.
natural. So
Thank you. I'm
thank
happy.
you.
I'll be happy to come back.
Cool. All right. Be well and have a great rest of your day. For those of you joining us, we're RoboFun. Go to robofun.org. And we have lots of classes that are starting next Monday. I believe that is November 1st. And
Yes.
your kids can sign up for I believe it's between then and the first or second week of December, and after schools. And we also have Veterans Day coming up. All right.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you
Goodbye,
so much.
Isabel. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Bye,
Bye.
Laura. Bye.
Bye, Jesse. How do I end this?